And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Kayfabe Corner. Here to sit down with one of the pioneers of Florida wrestling now. I'm here with the Technical Alchemist, David Mercury. David, how are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Jordan Owens. How about yourself?
I'm doing fine, man. I'm hanging in. How is everything? Usually I don't always get to check with people on a personal level, but I feel like nowadays you kind of have to. How are you on a personal level? You hanging in? You coping?
Well, everything's been going good. Now that they have opened up one of the second phases for this quarantine, what is now allowing people to get back into the gym. It's been a good thing because now I've been able to get back and rolling around in the ring and working with some of the students and getting myself out of the house again and getting to do what I love again, man, and that's wrestling, getting back in the ring.
Getting back to maybe just a little bit of normalcy. Yes, absolutely. And we'll definitely be talking a lot more about, the training of what you've been doing lately nowadays. Let's jump back in the time machine, though. Let's start off from the beginning. Even before you got in the business, were you a fan growing up?
Oh, of course, of course. When I was a kid, growing up, I was originally born in New London, Connecticut, but back
Hey,
in
I'm a
19...
Connecticut-born guy.
Cool, cool. What part are you from?
Bristol.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I was from New London, and we moved down to Florida in '86. And I remember when we were down here, my dad took me to one of my first wrestling events, which was held here in Tampa. The building is no longer there, but it was known as the Bayfront Center. And I got to see an old WCW event there. And I mean, I was in elementary school. This was probably when I was like in third grade. And it just, the way how everything played out to that was, was watching it on the weekends with my dad. And it was just one of those pastimes that when a show would come around, I would go and check it out with my dad. But yes, was definitely a fan of wrestling. I wasn't too much with the wrestling. I was more, when I was younger, of course, picking out a character. I really liked Macho Man. I liked Owen Hart, the way how some of these guys portrayed their characters when they were in the ring. I didn't really get into the in-depth knowledge of learning of who was a real good wrestler, like a Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, and all those guys until I was a little older, until I was a teenager, and where I was really starting to value the craft of professional wrestling.
So you kind of mentioned guys like Owen Hart. Who did grasp you at first? Who was the first few guys that really kind of grabbed your imagination?
One of the guys who really grasped my imagination. Well, one of them was Rick the Model Martel, because of his arrogance. Owen Hart, when he was the Blue Blazer, and when then he had his feud leading up to WrestleMania 10 with his brother Bret. His character, because of me being a younger brother, I started really feeling Owen Hart a lot because I grew up in a family where I'm the youngest and I was a younger brother. And, with my older brother at times, he'd always used to push his weight around and I always used to get crapped on by him. But as I got older, I got smarter and I got stronger, things got to change and I didn't quite blow up on my own brother as Bret did, as Owen did leading up to WrestleMania 10. But in my eyes and heart, that's what it was to me. So, yeah, I would say those guys were some of the ones. Another flamboyant character that I kind of got into, this was a little bit more into my teenage years. Well, not flamboyant like what most people think. I think it's flamboyant. Was Hayabusa from Japan, with his mask and his high flying, and he had that illusion. Everybody wanted to know what he looked like, but he was that hero, And I really liked it. I really liked that look. I gravitate towards that look. But then there was also another time too where I really started appreciating the craft, and that's when I started following guys like Taz and Kurt Angle. I started watching Benoit, and the technical masters of the game. You know, you got your William Regals and all those guys. And I kind of for a little while panned away from characters and started gravitating more towards the technical athletes of our generation.
Now, are you the kind of person that, you decided as a kid that you want to be a wrestler? Did you get more serious about it later? When do you decide you're going to get into it? When do you get into it?
Well, of course, when we were all young and we had that first taste of it and that aspiration, and you wrestle with your cousins or your friends. Yeah, I wanted to do it when I was young, and there was kind of an influence too with it for the fact that I was fortunate when I was young, growing up in elementary school, that I met the son of a wrestler, Frenchie Martin's son, Jean Gagne. And he was a friend of mine that grew up all the way up in the high school. And there was a little point in time where I kind of was like not thinking about wrestling. But when he came to high school, when he came back from Pennsylvania, and we started hanging out again, and we started getting into the crazy fad of, the backyard wrestling, but we weren't doing crazy hardcore stuff. It was like what you were just talking about, a character-based backyard wrestling promotion. And through him, I got to be fortunate to meet, some wrestling legends, and then meeting some local legends here in Florida that helped influence me in getting in with the business. Yeah, I have to say that was it was preordained, man. I was that guy that was from start to finish, man, that this was going to be something that I was going to do, that I was meant to do.
So when does it begin? What year? Who do you start training with? Where does it begin?
Oh, okay. So back in '98, my mom was working at the Winn-Dixie in Town and Country, and there used to be a wrestler that used to go in there. Actually, he's still around. Tony Marino, the Italian Stallion, went ahead and met my mom, started talking with me, gave me the notion of, hey, if you want to be a wrestler, kid, join your high school wrestling team. So I took his advice, and through him, he was able to get me to a couple of the NWA Florida shows that were held at the Armory. And from there, kind of give me some of the ins and outs of the business. He showed me a little bit of the psychology of very early 70s, late 60s style of solid wrestling. Man, it was really old school stuff. Through there, I was able to get an opportunity with Eddie Torres to go and make my debut out in New School Wrestling. And it was there where I met Steve Madison, and Steve Madison brought me and introduced me to Steve Kern. And Steve Kern was the one who then from there really crafted and helped me get my psychology game in wrestling, and how to use these wrestling maneuvers that I spent countless hours working at his school to perfect this and have it all make sense. So yeah, it was between Tony Marino and Steve Kern, and there is a sprinkle of the late great Frenchie Martin in there, because there was a couple of times where I've had an opportunity to sit and talk with him and pick his brain, and he, through his son and what he showed his son and was able to show us, we were able to get started in the game of professional wrestling.
So actually, I want to talk a little bit. I was just talking to Bob Cook about this. Well, how cool was it returning to the Armory a couple years back? You mentioned getting to see some of those early shows, and you were part of the return there.
Yes. I will have to say that right there was very bittersweet to me, because being younger and remembering somewhat of the old setup. I can't say that I remember the 80s and early 90s setup of what they were doing there, but I was able to see what how the wrestlers before me got to, utilize the locker room, where they walked out from, the opportunity of some of the areas upstairs that I got to sit and watch some of these great battles that took place in that building. And then, being granted that opportunity, which I'm forever grateful. That building means a lot to me. And to being able to be in that building and wrestle a match in that building, and it be one of my favorite matches to this day. One solid matches where I worked the great Pablo Marquez, which today is his birthday. I would like to say happy birthday to Pablo Marquez. The man just turned 47 years young, and he works as if he has not passed a day in 30. He is great. Thank you. Pablo gave me a hard-fought battle in that building, and being able to be in that building meant so much to me. And for any show that gets to be in that building, I would like to be a part of in some way, capable to being a part of that show, whether it's backstage or in the ring. I would always want to be a part of that building.
So we're obviously going to definitely talk about the Technical Alchemist here very soon. Before we get there, where does the name David Mercury come from? And was there any other ideas or gimmicks or just name-wise that you had toiled around with?
Oh, wow. Okay, so the name David Mercury. So now we're going to rewind a little bit. Remember when I was telling you that I did a little bit of backyard wrestling with some friends of mine, and we all got creative? Well, back then I used to have a different name, and I was going a little bit more of a character. It was so horrible. Like when I look back at it now,
I gotta hear it.
I didn't know anything, but I really I was going by Bane, because I was a Batman. I am a Batman fan, and I like that character, and I like the backbreaker and stuff like that. But I never had the opportunity to really don a mask. So, like, by my second backyard match, my friend Ben Johnson, he's the one. He knew of my amateur background. He knew that my character was very unstable when I got out there and wrestled, and the way how I was on the mic when we would do these generic promos. And he was the one that said, you know what? He's like, I think you need a new name. We need to call you David Mercury, because of how unstable you are. And then he's like, and you got so much stuff you can play off of. You can use the element, David Mercury. You can use the planet, being one of the hottest planets in the galaxy. And he just went so much. He's like, whatever you want to do with it, that's up to you. But the name David Mercury, I feel, fits you the best. And dude, I was 13. Actually, I was 14 at the time, just turning 15. So I'm 37 now. So that just tells you how long I've been hearing the name David Mercury.
But you adapted with it very well. Now, jumping forward a little bit here, let's talk about this guy. You're donning the glasses right now. Where does the Technical Alchemist come up? Because that's relatively new, right? At least in the last few years.
Yes. Well, I used to, back in ACW, I was using the monarch of the GOAT, David Mercury, the greatest of all time, the greatest of all technicians. And I ended up, stepping away from wrestling for a little while. I needed to take some time for myself to heal. I was going through a rough time. And when I came back to wrestling, I dropped the GOAT, and I was just going as David Mercury. And I was like, man, I need something, So I dropped and I started using the Monarch of the Technical Alchemist. And it was okay, I didn't have anything foreign to him yet. Like he hadn't emerged, and it it wasn't until I got with Gene. I started working for Frankie Reyes. He was running LPW for Fred Ottman at the time. And I was just getting back into wrestling, and Gene was somewhat himself, just kind of getting back into wrestling. So, here's these two entities just come into one promotion, and Frankie was like, well, how about so I can utilize you guys, how about I put you guys together? So we started, going as, the Technical Alchemist David Mercury with Big Daddy Wiley. And, we had a chemistry, you can see that there was something there, but it still hadn't emerged. And it wasn't until I started working an angle with Eddie Torres at Tampa Bay Pro. And I told him, I was like, Eddie, with you coming in, and at the time too, this was before he adopted the whole authority. This was like hey man, I need your assistance to help me reinvent myself. Will you help me with this? I was like, we got a lot of history, between you and I. We are kind of like that Xavier and Magneto feel when you look at Marvel Comics, but I needed him to help me bring this forth. So we started this feud where I started getting into his head, and I dropped the box and I left the box for him. And when he looked at it, he freaked out about what was inside. And from there on out, I took that and I was like, here I am, dissecting and manipulating this guy's persona. I have to be something. And then it all started falling into place. I saw the goggles, I saw the gloves, and you're a movie fan, so you might understand this reference. But have you seen the movie Frailty?
Not in a while, but I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Bill Paxton, he played the God's Hand Killer. Well, there was a scene in the movie where he was driving, and supposedly it came to him. And there was the light flashing off in the barn, and he goes to the barn and he sees the gloves and the axe. Well, for me, it was the gloves and the goggles and that jacket. And, I've been a big fan of cult horror movies, from House on Haunted Hill to Reanimator. I've always been a fan of a person of a scientific standpoint. And I feel like with the name, this is just something that has been able to be created in front of people and has been able to unfold right before your eyes. This is something fresh and new that I feel like it's fresh and new, but it's been something in the making. And that's kind of how it came together. And I asked Wiley, I said, you know what, man? I notice every promotion, they have managers everywhere. Everybody's a manager. Everybody has these standpoints. But I said, Wiley, we got to do something with you. And at the same time, we have to pay homage to what you've done, because you've been in this business for quite a long time. Wiley's been in this business since the late 80s. you know, being a manager for different wrestlers throughout the Florida indie scene, you know, from the Southern Posse. He's managed Muhammad Stud, you know, there's all these different guys that he's worked with all the way through the Dirty Bonds, you know, and I was like, you know what? You have assisted those guys achieve such greatness, but now to be a part of something so unique, I was like, we got to make you my assistant. You know, we have to change you. We have to make you be different than every other manager that you see that's out there on every show. And that's when we were able to put together this. And originally, I was supposed to debut against Eddie Torres on May 13th, but it got pushed back to June. But I did debut the scientist look of my character on May 13th, and that's when I wrestled Fabu out at the Roundup for Tampa Bay Pro. And then shortly after, I had one more other match, which was against Steve Madison, Moose Madison, at Tampa Bay Pro, over at the Big Top Flea Market. And then on June 10th was when I debuted the whole mask and deal. I debuted the mask with Eddie Torres. Everybody else, they just got to see the goggles and the lab coat, but with Eddie Torres, that creature that stands behind you was what's presented to Eddie Torres.
It's been really fun seeing it progress, like you said, from without the mask, just the goggles, and it's been fun seeing the character really progress and come together, and some great merch too. Where can we get a T-shirt? Are they just at shows, or do you have anything online?
Well, actually, that is it, man. I'm discontinuing the shirts. It may be a while before I bring them back up, man. I did these because, you know, I kind of wanted to limit them. I wanted to make it for an opportunity where people were to get them and, you know, be a part of that moment in time, you
Nice.
know, and to go forward. But yeah, the shirts are no longer going to be produced. I do have in mind possibly one more, which would be the final piece. Each shirt has a theme that has gone through it to show the evolution of the Technical Alchemist. And there's one more step that will soon be debuted, which is the magnum opus, my magnum opus, my work, my hard work that's been going on with my character. And I'm going to do one final shirt possibly for that. And that will be it. That would be the wrap up of my T-shirt collection. You might have to see if somebody will sell it on eBay, possibly.
I think you have to start searching them eBay collections.
Right, just to get it, just to have it, man.
So, of course, outside of just inside contributions that we see on the show here, you lately have been helping train students over with Jay Lethal at the Lethal Academy here. How did that come about, and are you enjoying that?
Oh, yes. I'd have to say, man, that has gotten to breathe a whole new life, not just as into my character, what I'm doing wrestling, but as a person in a whole. How the opportunity came about was originally the first school for Tampa Bay Pro was actually located right down the street from where I'm staying now. And I was going over there to train and work out. And there were nights when Jay was going there training, and I would just assist here and there and help him out. And he realized that I was coming around to the shows and was helping around at the shows. And, you know, he started, you know, learning about me, you know, and realized that I've been a local here for, you know, at the time was 16 years. But now, you know, going on 18. He realized that there was, there was something there. I'm still not sure what it was to this day. But he, asked me if I would help him work with students and work and train the next generation in professional wrestling. So um, it was an offer that I felt in my heart I just couldn't refuse. Somebody was giving me a platform on which to pass on the knowledge of what I hold so dear to the next generation. I mean, that's a great opportunity. That's everything going almost full circle. Some people can only dream about that.
Any shout outs and who we should look out for? It's fun being part of Tampa Bay Pro, seeing some of these, kids start. And anyone who you really got
Oh,
high hopes for?
now you're trying to put me on the spot with my students because they're going to be watching this and they're going to see, oh, coach, who does coach admire the most? You know what, man? A lot of them, in fact, they know who they are. I've had this talk with them before. Um, the ones that have come out and put in the work, that have showed the dedication that I felt that I showed when I first started, um, those are the ones that know that have that shot, have that opportunity to press forward and possibly turn their dream into a career. Um, but all in all, man, every student I have is a standout. They all work hard, whether it's the good old boys, whether it's the gifted. We got the Shogun, we got Dom, we got we got freaking the true champ coming out of our camp. Every one of them has worked hard from Danger to Boom, the Gator King. I've gotten to be a part of each and every one of their aspects in growing into this business. They've all done me proud because they all pushed forward and are turning their dream into a reality. So in my eyes, in my heart, that's a standout.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's a great school. It's got a great track record. I can vouch for that myself from seeing them all grow. Give a little plug ski. Anyone that's interested. I know classes are, like you said, starting to roll back out again. If anyone's interested, Tampa Bay area, that's the school to go to.
Yes, definitely. I would just say, go and hit Google. You can go to all three platforms of social media. Check out Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling Academy, featuring Jay Lethal and the Technical Alchemist David Mercury. You can find me on all three of those social media outlets as well. Just look me up, the Technical Alchemist David Mercury, or just David Mercury. As of right now, we are just rolling through because of this pandemic really hit a lot of people hard. We weren't able to get together and train and everything. So we are a little behind schedule, but we're just picking up now and starting to roll through with a current class. But I would say definitely, check our social media platforms because we will definitely be announcing when the next class would be ready to come through. But as of right now, we got it locked. There's no one coming up.
No, but definitely check it out for the future. It's a good place to be. Long storied career you've had. I've seen some great matches of yours. In your opinion, what are some of the best matches you've had? Who have you really clicked with?
Well, yeah, I've had quite a few. I've always pushed myself that no matter who I've ever get in the ring with, I would I'll give them my all in telling a great story that makes sense. You know what I mean? It's got to be a match that it is not just going out there and it's just doing crazy stuff. No, you see, man, I am a worker. I'm an artist. I try to make sure that I give a story for everyone, not just for the fans that are sitting in the crowd that bought that ticket, but I'm trying to give a story for the people in the back. that understand the psychology of this business. Okay, and I push myself to be able to do that with any given talent. Um, so with that mindset, all my matches are always in my heart good, because we're out there and we're representing a great story, a great piece of entertainment and wrestling psychology that these people can go home and talk about. I've always been able to do that with guys like the Tyrant Dagon Briggs and the Authority Eddie Torres. I've been lucky enough to be able to tell stories just like that with guys like Hunter Law and Snoop Strikes. I've had some great matches with Snoop Strikes, and then I've been able to go down south and work guys like Cha Cha Charlie all the way up, leading to a great cage match to where we were able to leave a story for those fans, for, the people that witnessed it. And there's not a place I haven't gone where whether it's me meeting that guy for the first time or me working that guy for the last 10 years, there isn't a match to me that's bad or great, because all of them leave that piece of history.
Very nice. I like it. God, you're so good. You're so good, David. What are some of your favorite promotions and locker rooms to be in?
Oh, okay. First and foremost, Tampa Bay Pro Wrestling has been one of my favorites. Another one that's right up there is DCCW, and then another one that's also up there is CCW. But you know what, man? Every locker room, either locker room is really good or a locker room sucks. You got to make the most of what you got. You know what I mean? Whether it's catered, whether it's in the middle of a field, regardless of what it is, you make the most of what you got. I always try to take each locker room that I go into, not just as a vet, just walking in and, oh, look, this is, I don't need the respect, or, you know what, I'm going to do whatever I want. I'm not that type of guy. Every locker room I walk into with respect, and I walk in with the notion that I'm ready to work. Some, yes, I do have a more mellow feel with it because the people there to me feel like home. That one's right, and then there's other locker rooms where, I have to step in and I have to stay on a professional level. I can't be comfortable, every locker room's got its feel, but you know what, like I said, I make the most out of every locker room I go into, because every locker room I've been into so far, I'm never alone. You understand? I'm never alone. There's somebody on that show that I've either ridden the roads with, or I have ran into before at another show. So when it comes to wrestling in the state of Florida, I mean, I'm starting to make my way out now, but when it comes to wrestling in the state of Florida, there's really not a locker room that makes me feel uncomfortable, because I've shared the locker room with practically almost everybody.
Now, you share the locker room with almost everybody, and you've had some great matches. But what's a match that escapes you so far? Is there someone out there that you haven't had the chance to work with that you're itching to?
Oh, I knew this one was coming. Eddie and I have been talking about this one. I do. I am a man of producing good work. I've had noticed that there are some standouts, so to speak, that are right now making their ways up and down the roads here in Florida. There are a few. One of them, Kikio Harrison. I've had my eye on that one. Hell of a performer, hell of an athlete, a man who understands the concept of the game. Definitely looking forward to standing across from him. Chance Oren is another one. There's a couple that I feel there is unfinished business. One being the Tony Storm, the other one being the Tokyo Monster, Kahagas. The Authority, Eddie Torres. When he goes back to some of the newer guys, I still have my eyes set on Hunter Law. And then last but not least, I feel after the last tag I left on his face, I'm sure I'll have to keep my eyes peeled for one Logan Cruz, one Daniel Starling. Yeah, I got a lot of students that I've worked with and that I've stretched and pulled apart. So I can never, in my heart of hearts, forget those guys looking towards me. You know what I mean? So that would be a good little group right there of guys that I would definitely like to work before this is all said and done.
Very nice, very nice. What advice do you give to someone just starting out in the business? They come to you, either after a show or whenever, and just say, what kind of advice would you give to someone just starting out?
Be coachable. Be willing to learn from your flaws because we are always having them. Some get pointed out more than others, but regardless of the case, always be coachable in this business. I have the opportunity to train people and help them mold themselves for in-ring competition and how to present themselves on an independent level. But at the same time, I always am a student to this game. I'm always open to learning, to listening, not saying anything, just listening and applying the knowledge that is given to me and plug it into my own equations.
Very good, very good. As someone, as you said, a veteran now in the business, this is kind of a broad one, but I just kind of want to get your opinion if you can think of something. Is there anything that's missing now that you think should be brought back in? Like, has something been lost over the years? And also on the other end, do you think anything is better now than it was back in the day?
Patience. I feel patience has been a thing that has been lost. A lot of guys are coming in and they want to boom, boom, boom. They want it now, now, now. And they think that doing the most craziest of stunts or just outlandish things, okay? There's a certain guideline when it comes to the entertainment of pro wrestling. And there's certain people that lack the patience to just bide their time and work on themselves and work on their character development and work on this brand that they want to bring. No, they're just quick to want to take this and slap their image on it and push it forward. And they want to move so fast because they think moving so fast it's going to come to them a lot quicker. That isn't the case with pro wrestling. I've been doing this for 18 years. And in the 18 years I've been doing this, it hasn't been until the last 3 that I've got something to produce. that I got something that people can look at and say, that is something that I would like that. People are moving too fast. Slow down. Have patience. Take in that knowledge and understand it. That's what it is. That's the advice that I have, because it's going to get there. As long as you put in the work, it's going to get there. Just have the patience.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years in the pro wrestling business?
Oh, 5 years from now. I hope 5 years from now, because of all the crazy stuff that 2020 has been putting on us.
It's a hard question now.
A bold statement alone for you to be like, oh, 5 years from now, shoot, we don't even know if we're going to make it in August, bro. No, 5 years from now, I'm still hoping to, in some capability, being able to contribute to professional wrestling where I'm not an obsolete object, that I'm still able to contribute to this business, necessarily not saying in the ring, but behind the scenes of a show, or whether it's me in the confines of the Lethal Academy. I just hope in 5 years that I'm still able to have that opportunity to help mold and help influence the next generation. That's where I hope to be in 5 years.
So, as you said, behind the scenes, so you are definitely looking to, when the in-ring career is done, hopefully not soon, anytime soon, but when it is, you're cool with doing something backstage, being, an agent or just continuing the training?
Of course. I mean, I never try to step on toes when I go to different locker rooms because, like I said, I try to be as professional as possible. But when it comes to the locker room at Tampa Bay Pro, I've been able to help guide it backstage, and because that they have given me, thank you, Dave and Jay, thank you both for giving me the opportunity to be able to now use the knowledge that I have and the ideas that I've been able to bring to help contribute, to help make that show part happen and being able to move forward and being able to do things. I've gotten to see those same opportunities in other locker rooms, and it's one of those things that I've really enjoyed. Definitely, yeah. That's my next venture when it comes to being done with in-ring competition, is being able to be somebody that can be a part of shows and help with the back of their shows, whether it's being a locker room leader, whether it's guerrilla position. Hell, man, I've helped set up plenty of rings.
So obviously things are at a weird standstill for the most part, but some stuff's starting to trickle in. Do you have any upcoming appearances?
Really quick, repeat that question one more time so that I understand it correctly.
Oh, no problem. A lot of things still haven't, the ball hasn't started rolling yet for a lot of companies, but some are starting to get out there. Do you have any upcoming appearances?
Yes. Currently, right now, the next scheduled event for the Technical Alchemist is at DCCW on the 27th day of June, when they present their Summer Heat Wave. And I'm looking very forward to this event because they are back in their original building from when they started running their shows in this very, very unique setup. And I've only been able to witness this setup through videos and through the information that was shared with me from Wiley Gene. But now they're making their way back to the Harvest Ministries. And then that same day, I will present to the fans of DCCW my magnum opus as I take on Mr. Davis.
That's gonna be one hell of a match for sure, for sure. Any other plugs you want to make? You mentioned it before. Where can people reach you for bookings or contacting?
Yes, you can find me on all 3 social media outlets: Instagram, Twitter. Hell, you can even go as far as find me on Xbox as Tech Alchemy DM. Okay, I'm on Xbox Live. I be jamming on there with some pretty cool games like Resident Evil and stuff like that. Find me there. Also, Red Dead Redemption 2 is a really good game. But you can also find me on Facebook. You can look me up under the Technical Alchemist David Mercury. And thank you, Jordan, for being a part of your show. This has been a pleasure, my friend.
And any last parting words from the Technical Alchemist?
I have definitely molded myself to become Florida's own too weird to live, most too rare to die individual. Thank you.
Okay, if that's not on a T-shirt, it needs to be now. For David Mercury, thank you so much. This is an insightful chat, as I knew it would be here, man. Check him out as soon as you can, DCCW, wherever he will be, hopefully in the near future. Once things start revving up, I'm sure the Technical Alchemist will be there. For David, this is JPO, Jordan Pierce Owens. Thank you so much for checking this out. And as always, keep it kayfabe.